Okay, so we're going to finish up our chapter on quadratics by talking about word problems involving them. And just like always, I'm just going to have one example for our notes here, and then we'll practice some more in class. Basically, what's going on in this problem is that this guy's throwing a baseball up into the air, and I tried to draw a little picture to illustrate this. And this equation right here is supposed to figure out, it compares his height and the time the ball has been in the air, or the ball's height and the time it's been in the air. Now, if I asked you to figure out how high the ball will be in 2 seconds, in 3 seconds, in 7 seconds, or whatever, that's not hard at all. You just plug in for t and you get your answer. But this problem is asking us to figure out when the ball hits the ground. So if you think about it, the ball hits the ground over here. And what do we know about the problem when the ball hits the ground? We don't know anything about the time. That's what we're looking for. We know the ball's height on the ground. So when it hits right here, its height is 0 because it's on the ground. So if the height is 0, we're going to plug in a 0 for h. And our job right now is to solve for t. Now, unfortunately, this is not going to be just a simple get t by itself and we're done, because it's a quadratic equation. So what we have to do here is one of our many methods we've learned to solve this problem. We could do completing the square, maybe factoring, but that's probably not going to be a good option. Any of the methods we talked about. And what probably is the easiest way is the quadratic formula. So this looks like it's going to be horribly unpleasant to do the quadratic formula on, because we do have big numbers, we have some decimals in here. But actually, I would argue it's actually easier this way, because we don't have to deal with simplifying square roots or anything like that. We're just going to throw it in our calculator and basically get decimals for our answers. So that's kind of the benefit to having a word problem. Think about it. If I told you the ball is going to hit the ground in 3√2 seconds, that doesn't make a lot of, that's not very valuable to have. You'd rather have a decimal answer. Usually in math, when we're solving an equation, we want the actual simplified square root answer and all that. But with word problems, we just want a decimal approximation. So anyway, I'm going to show just some of the steps here as we're going through this. You're just going to pop this in the quadratic formula. It's already equal to 0. So you'd have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac squared. So when you do b squared, you're going to get 2927.67, and the decimal keeps on going. Leave that decimal in your calculator. Don't just round it like write it down rounded, but keep that number in your calculator. And when you do negative 4 times a times c, you get a positive 374.4. All of this is over negative 32. So what I would do here, first of all, is take this actual answer in your calculator, use it again, plus this one. So you get the actual answer, not the rounded one. And you will get 54, I'm just copying down this part, plus or minus the square root of, and if we do our square root here, it's going to be 3302.07, thereabouts. So that number is going to be what we end up going for when we're doing our quadratic formula here. So we got to take our problem, and we're going to get our two answers. Oops, move this down just a little bit. We're going to get our two answers by doing a plus here and by doing a minus. We're going to get our answer for the numerator, and then we're going to divide by a negative 32. So I'm going to do this plus the square root of this, enter, divide by negative 32. This minus square root of this, enter, divide by negative 32. When I do that, the two answers you should get, and you should try this on your own calculator just to be sure you know how to do it. I guess this is for t, not x. You will end up with t equals, it'll be negative 0.1049 about, and the other answer is t equals 3.4866. So again, please check to make sure you can get these answers here. Once you do it once, you'll understand it, but if you don't practice it, you won't get it right. Those are our two answers to the problem. Now, if you think about it, this one is saying the ball will hit the ground in negative 0.1 seconds. This one is saying that the ball will hit the ground in 3.48 seconds. Obviously, the more appropriate answer here, the one that actually makes sense, is going to be this guy right here. So when you get your two solutions, look at them and see if both of them make sense or not. What's actually happening here with the negative 0.1, if you kept going this way on the graph, like before he even threw the ball, it would have hit the ground there as well. And that's what they calculated. But that doesn't make sense in our word problem. We want our positive 3.48 for our answer. So we'll take about 3.48 seconds for the ball to hit the ground.